I'd also like to say hi, Sam. Thank you so much for coming down. And hearing you talk about TTRPGs and being a game master growing up, I relate heavily because I've just gotten into the hobby myself. And one of my questions actually relates to world building because as a game master, I'm like building a city right now for a Chronicles of Darkness game. And, you know, Alan Wake actually featured New York City in the game. I know Caldera Street is like based around 42nd Street and such and such. So I wanted to know like what sort of process went into adapting such a diverse and you know, a melting pot of a city as New York into like Remedy in the universe, because I know Control, I think New York is one of the points of power as well. So like what sort of process was
true. For me, in my head, New York has always been just this kind of archetypal city, the kind of like model, and it really comes from fiction with a huge number of films and many books as well. Like I love Paul Auster as a writer, for example, and it's almost like this mythological archetype of a city in my head, and obviously Max Payne games were set in New York City, but it's a fictional version of the city. To the point where even in a in-game TV show they talk about noir York City, because obviously film noir and hard-boiled fiction, and when I wrote Max Payne 1 and 2, I had never visited New York in my life, and I only for the first time visited after creating them. In the stories, but that kind of remains the fact in my mind that it is just something magical about it. So New York has played a role in all of Remedy's game, like Max Payne set in New York, Alan Wake. He lives in New York with Alice, his wife, and then they go on a vacation trip to Bright Falls in Pacific Northwest. And Control, the headquarters of the Federal Bureau of Control, the oldest house, is set in New York City. And so it's been present in all of these games, and somehow I just have this powerful fictional relationship with New York, and I love New York. Like having visited now many times, I do love it, and it just felt so clear with Alan Wake 2 that the dark place side of it should be kind of this nightmare dream version, or this kind of a condensed vision of New York, and we were drawing inspiration from various places, like real places, like the Ocean View Hotel we have, very much inspired by Chelsea Hotel, and kind of like all of those elements there, and more than anything, I think in world building, especially for video games, I just, starting with Max Payne and especially with Alan Wake, to me, it always is that what is the internal world inside the character? What are the character's kind of dark struggles and flaws, and then finding ways to externalize those into the world. And that's the starting point of building the world, to me, in many ways. So you know, Alan Wake is lost and struggling and tortured in many ways. So his New York, the New York in Dark Place, is this kind of like the crimey, dangerous, dirty New York that you see, say, in The Taxi Driver, you know, and everything is covered with graffiti, but when you look more closely, they are all messages to him. And all the newspaper headlines in the newspapers lying around are about him. And so all the warning signs and direction signs in the subway station are about him. So in a very concrete way, in the fiction of Alan Wake, we get the internal world externalized. And that, to me, even when we are talking about role-playing games, and like I feel that the themes and the ideas, you know, those are the starting points for building the world as well.